Hello everybody, welcome to the Hamilton County Sports Show on Hamilton County Television, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners in Noblesville. Today we have the privilege of sitting down with Hamilton Southeastern varsity football coach Michael Kelly. Coach, before we get into anything else, just a quick congratulations on a great season last year.
I appreciate it. That team was able to do a lot, and our coaching staff and players, just a phenomenal group to work with. And you know, you miss that class as they graduate out, and you're transitioning into the new class, and you think about what you had last year and what you got this year, and it's always kind of a thing. We look back in the past to kind of evaluate where you're at and those measuring sticks, and so it's always fun to see them graduate and walk out, and then the legacy they leave behind. It's always interesting to see how the next group takes up that work ethic and that kind of expectation for themselves.
Well, I know you guys start planning the season almost immediately after the last game, but describe to us just how what kind of things are going on in the off season, trying to get prepared for next year.
A lot of weight training. We do. You know, the state of Indiana gives you so much time now to practice and do whatever you want, and you know now in the wintertime you got 2 hours for 2 days a week that you can do different football drills and stuff. But we use that time to really build our bodies. We say we build our armor in the winter. And so building our body and our speed and our athleticism is really our main focus in the month of December and January and February. And then when we get into March, we're still working in the weight room a lot. And then April, when we open up and we have another athletic time where we're allowed to work with our kids with footballs and do drill specific work, that's when we start kind of implementing schematically what we do. But there again, we're only using about 45 minutes of time of our players because we want them to be multi-sport athletes, and so we really encourage them to get out and get engaged and be involved in something else, not just football. We believe that helps us as a program dealing with the stress and the pressure that they have to perform under. You can't replicate that in a weight room. It's good for them to experience it on a game field. However, it's a big emphasis for us is developing that athleticism and that strength, which is what we hope we're known for.
Now, you alluded to it just a little bit earlier, how the IHSAA has allowed you guys more time with the kids, where in the past it was almost down to literally zero. Describe for us the activities over the summer.
We get 12 days that you're allowed to be in helmets or shoulder pads, and within those 12 days you get 5 days of competition. We go to camp as a group, and we think that camping, take them away from HSE, away from the comforts of home, and put them in an environment where they have to be around each other for 48 hours, sleeping, hanging out, eating. That time is important, not just from a competitive standpoint, but more importantly from a camaraderie standpoint, where they come together as a group and start building bonds with different players. And that's where you really start to see your team start to gel together in different ways than maybe you get if you were just out practicing or in the locker room or what have you. And so we utilize that time, big time in the month of June, and then we do another camp in July at the high school. Kind of got away from the 2-a-day model where we really only practice 1 day a week. Even when we're allowed to practice in August, we've used that camp week to kind of implement what we do from a special team standpoint and really kind of gear up for the season, so to speak, before we get rolling.
Well, every year as a high school coach, college coach, whichever level you're at, change is a thing that you have to learn to deal with. You graduated a pretty talented group of kids last year, and obviously some of the key positions are going to have to be replaced this year. Let's talk about some of the new people coming in this year.
Well, the nice thing is we also have a lot of guys that are returning that played in some significant time. You look at the offensive line, we got 4 guys that really played in varsity time in meaningful minutes in the last fall with Will Irish and Jalen Alexander, or not Jalen, we got a lot of Alexanders. So Reed Alexander is playing at guard, and Ben Weaver also played a lot last year, and he's a guy that's getting some work in right now. And then Cameron Gorn, the big right tackle that's coming in at the offensive line position. And then the defensive line, we've moved some people from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball. So this year we have Nate Ingles, who's moved down to D-line, and Jack Osecki, who's now playing outside linebacker for us, and they're playing new positions, different positions. But they've but they've been in varsity time, so they've experienced the pressure that is what you feel on a Friday night. However, you want to see how they're going to perform when the lights are on at their new spot. So we're excited to see that. We got Ezra Wallace is returning again, and Brendan Baker and Jalen Alexander, obviously, and Donovan Hamilton is returning at the receiver position, and Cam Anthony is also returning at the tight end position. So there are a lot of guys that have played last year that are going to get a chance to play more predominant roles this year than maybe what they had even last year. So we're excited to see what that brings.
You know, I know you had a lot of sophomores and juniors on the team last year, but and of course, as they grow, they get older, they become seniors. Talk a little bit about the senior leadership and how important that is for the team.
Yeah, the program's ours as a coaching staff, the team is theirs as a group. And so we always challenge our players, leave your jersey better than you found it. And the challenge of leadership is holding your teammates accountable, embracing one another, and playing for each other, not just for yourself. And so from a leadership standpoint, you like to see the guys encouraging and challenging and being that positive environment and positive role model that helps build we say fuel the fire, so to speak, of the team environment. And so that's big for us, and we're trying to get those guys to really embrace being that type of teammate, but also setting that standard. Styles Prescott is a guy who, at the offensive line position this week has made a big step in this leadership. Just say, hey, we got this. Let's roll. And so those are positive things that you're seeing. Donovan Hamilton challenges his position group, running, finishing. He's leading by example, but he's also encouraging his teammates as well. And so those are good things to see, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive line-wise, we got Jack Seifert, who's been playing for the last 3 years for us, and so we're excited to see what he does. And he's a stoic kind of guy. He's not very, very rudimentary in how he handles things, but he is a phenomenal player for us. Looking for great things for him in that leadership role and bringing them along in the right type of way.
Let's talk a little bit about your coaching staff. You always have some changes every year, but I assume the bulk of your coaching staff is back with you.
Yeah, the nice thing is that the last 2 years have kind of been able to just plug and play. So we've had coaches that have been on the staff that have been able to roll in and kind of fill in a new role. I'm really blessed to have a couple new coaches on staff. Outside linebacker Brad Purcell has just joined the staff. He was a head coach at Cardinal Ritter, Connequa previously before that, and so we're excited to have him with us. And then Coach Mills, Jamil Smith, who was a receiver at Ball State, has joined our staff this year. He coaches our corners. He's done a phenomenal job as well. And so having those types of guys around your program that can really build some depth in your coaching staff, but also holding kids accountable and do a phenomenal job for us.
Well, looking at the schedule, as we always do every year, of course, the HCC is tough, and we'll talk specifically about that in a moment, but you've got a couple of non-conference games coming up right here at the beginning of the season. They're going to be interesting and tough.
Oh, no question. I think you got, I think in some polls they're rated number 3 in the state, and get a chance to see a top-tier program come back in. A team that put you out last year in the tournament, you're coming back in right away in game 1. They've a great coach, well-coached program, very disciplined, physical team. So it's a good litmus test for your program, and not necessarily a do-or-die situation for us, but it is a game that's of importance because we play. And
you'll learn a lot from it, right?
Yeah, no question. And we tell our kids it's not about who we play, it's about how we play. And so the expectation is setting that tone of what type of team is HSC going to be this year. Last year's past, this year's new.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to look in the rearview mirror about what was different, we're focused on what's in front of us. And this week it just so happens it's Carroll. And so it's a great opportunity for us to come out and kind of see where we are as a program against a top-tier team in the state.
Let's talk about the Hoosier Crossroad Conference. And, Perry and I have been associated with the HCC for a lot of years, and we feel that it's probably, if not the top, one of the best conferences in the state of Indiana in all sports. How are they looking for football this year?
There's not an easy week. I think, the cream is rising to the top, so to speak, in the state of Indiana. I look at every team in our conference now has at least 1 or 2 or 3, potentially even 4 Division I athletes on it, and so You're playing against tremendous competition, unbelievably well coached teams. You're not going to out scheme them. You have to make sure that you're doing the little things in the off season to help you win. And that's it's so important that we have that buy-in to what we do in the off season, help propel us into the season. But Westfield is going to be a very tough opponent again this year. Fishers, I think they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be on the lookout. They've got their running back and their receivers. Their defense is going to be really good this year. As I spoke to Coach Gilbert, his team is always very well coached, and they've got several kids coming back that are high-level caliber players. Noblesville, they're that team they're that sleeping giant, I think, in our conference in terms of what they have from a physicality standpoint and just a skill position now. They're a team to look out for, I think. And then Franklin Central's got several guys that are getting recruited at Division I level, and they've been growing. You see the growth, you see the development, you see how they're coming along. They are like Noblesville in that regard as well. And then Avon with new coaching staff, you're kind of anticipating or anxiously anticipating what that team is going to look like and how they're going to be. And Brownsburg, obviously, they've been them and Westfield kind of been at the top of our conference for the last couple of years, and so they're going to be presenting a huge challenge for us. In Zionsville, they've got several guys, and they've been to the state championship prior to last year. The 2 years previous to that, they were in the state championship game. So you're looking at teams in our conference that are just you can't take a breath, and so you got to come out and you got to compete and you got to play at a high level, or else you're not going to like the outcome.
It's going to be a challenge, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yep.
But the one thing is for certain, Coach, every Friday night in the HCC, there are going to be some great football games.
And that's what's great. We got great coaches in our conference that do a great job building their team and building their program. And so it makes it fun. If it were easy, it wouldn't be fun. We tell our kids all the time, if it's easy for a reason. No one wants to do it. And so, or you lose interest in it. And so it's not easy for us, and it's exciting to play against teams that are going to challenge you and kind of see what kind of will and effort you're going to put into what you do. And it kind of shows us what kind of character we have as a team, which I think is fun. I think that's enjoyable.
One last topic I'd like to touch on with you. We talk about the players, we talk about the coaches, we talk about the conference. Let's talk about the fans. Not only the students, the families, just John Q. Public who wants to come to a football game on Friday night and see it. How important is that fan base?
It's huge. One thing that's awesome about HSE is our players run out of the tunnel and they look up in the stands and they see it's rocking and it's packed. And that type of environment is crucial to kind of give validity to what you do in the off season, right? They're seeing that as, hey man, what people are out here supporting us, and we challenge our players to be worthy of being celebrated. And so making sure that you're working to that type of standard, that people are going to come watch you, people are going to come evaluate who you are and what you're doing. And so it's very important that they understand that group behind them, they're there because they love you and they want to be entertained. And so playing at your best level is important, and hopefully we have the same type of energy this year we've had in the last 3 years. I don't know of another team that's had the kind of privilege that we've had with our stands on a Friday night at home. We've been packed, and that's fun. Rain, shine, it didn't cold, hot, it didn't matter. They were out in full force. I looked at last year, we played against Brownsburg. We're going into fall break, and our stands were still packed, and that doesn't happen everywhere. So our kids, I think that's huge, and we're grateful for it, and we're thankful to have them. That's for sure.
Well, Coach, once again, congratulations on a great season this year. We're looking forward to another great season coming up this year, and wish you all the luck in the world this season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Coach Michael Kelly of the Hamilton Southeastern Royals for the Hamilton County Television Sports Show, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners. This is Brad Silbert. Good day.